Revolutionary greetings to all you brothers and sisters out there. I greet you by saying Hotep, Jambo, Assalamu alaikum, and Hallelujah. My name is Asa Olasola. I am representing the Cincinnati Pan Afrikan Coalition, or CPAC, and I am one of the hosts for today's celebration. I welcome you to our first viral presentation of African Liberation Day, and as with all of our public activities, we will open with a few African-centered rituals. We start with a drum call done virally today by a group of our community drummers and a viral presentation of the pouring of libation by Dr. Ken G. So let us get the African Liberation Day 2020 celebration underway.
The drum speaks. Through the spirit of the African drum, and in the ancient African tradition of our forefathers and foremothers, we look to the heavens and we respectfully ask our ancestors to shine down upon us and give us permission to begin today's program celebrating African Liberation Day. The water represents life, the fluidity and resilience of the human spirit as life flows through Father Time and space. The plant represents Mother Earth, the bearer, the womb, and the nurturer of life. This beloved third planet is home of humanity and the majesty of God's creation, His divinity, and intelligent design. So, in the tradition of our African ancestors, we pour libations to recognize these truths as self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that the past, the present, and the future are connected by one God and one love. For in the word liberation itself, there is the word libation, the nomo.
Ashe.
We call upon the ancestors far and near, mothers of our mothers and fathers of our fathers, to give us strength and courage and to remind us of their love and their sacrifice, so that we might continue the struggle for human dignity, liberation, and freedom. For they knew the human spirit was born to be free. So we look to the heavens for a reminder of their shining light and guiding example of love, wisdom, compassion, and courage for all humanity. As we pour libation, the collective response is Ashe, which means it is done. You are invited to participate with us in the ancient African tradition of call and response and say Ashe. First, in honor of the Creator, we pour libation. We recognize the omnipotence of the Creator of all things and all life, and we honor His covenant with us, His people, and all His creations, the birds and the animals, the plants and the trees, the blue sky and the rain, the sun and the moon, Mother Earth itself, and we the people who are blessed to call it home. We pour libation.
Ashe.
And let the people say Ashe. In the honor and memory of our ancestors, we pour libations for those who were the first of God's creations, the original man and the original woman, birthed in the motherland Africa, and the great civilizations they created and innovated that laid the foundation for the rest of human history, culture, and discovery. And to those who were destined to lead, to guide, and to rule for thousands of years. We pour libation for those like warrior queen Hatshepsut, for the great pharaoh Akhenaten, for beautiful and regal queen Nefertiti, for Pharaoh Ramses II, for Hannibal of Carthage, King Mansa Musa, and the brilliant scholar Imhotep, for regal queen Nzinga and warrior queen Amina, for the boy king Tutankhamun and the warrior king Shaka Zulu, for the great civilizations of Songhai and Mali and Egypt and Nubia, Ethiopia and Benin. Just a few ancient examples and reminders of the glorious spirit of humanity that still resides in us today. In their memory, in their honor, we pour libation. And the people say, Ashe.
Ashe.
We pour libations for those who crossed the Middle Passage and came to America and went throughout the diaspora and Caribbean. We came to foreign lands in bondage, the worst, evil, vile, ungodly, and insidious colonization and slavery in human history. We must never forget the past, the hardships, the struggles, the resurrection, the love, and the victories as we celebrate African Liberation Day. For our ancestors who crossed the Middle Passage, for those who would jump from slave ships rather than to live in bondage, we pour libation. For our ancestors who crossed the Middle Passage, for those who were persecuted and enslaved but continue to fight, to survive, to thrive, to pray, to hope, and to work for a better future against all odds, we pour libation.
Ashe.
We pour libations for those like Nat Turner, Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, Sojourner Truth, and Marcus Garvey. Those whose love, leadership, and sacrifice are acknowledged and applauded in human history for making their mark and striking a blow against slavery and oppression, and for liberation and freedom.
Ashe.
We pour libations for our more recent ancestors, those like Rosa Parks,
Ashe.
Malcolm X, Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth, Fannie Lou Hamer, Muhammad Ali, Huey Newton, Stokely Carmichael, and Dr. Martin Luther King. Those who led the civil rights movement and those who led the Black Power movement, both working hand in glove for Pan-African and African-American liberation and freedom.
Ashe.
We pour libations in memory of the casualties of racial and criminal injustice and police brutality. For those like Emmett Till, Abner Louima, Sean Bell, Eric Garner, Michael Brown, Walter Scott, Freddie Gray, Philando Castile, Tamir Rice, Timothy Thomas, Sandra Bland, Sam Du Bois, Trayvon Martin, Ahmaud Arbery, and so many others. May they rest in peace. We pour libation.
Ashe.
We pour libation for those in our own beloved families, for those ancestors who have gone on, and to those elders, those mothers and fathers, grandmothers and grandfathers, all precious souls who are still here, still loving, still educating, still praying, and still leading by example with wisdom, dignity, and grace. Call their names, evoke their names, and remember them. Thank them, appreciate them, honor them. We pour libation for them.
Ashe.
And finally, we pour libation for our collective future, our beloved progeny, our sons and daughters, and the sons of our sons and the daughters of our daughters, on the continent, in America, and throughout the diaspora. Our faith is bigger than our fears. Our love is strong and everlasting. And our hope for the next 1,000 years rises higher than the struggles of the past 400. Today, we celebrate African Liberation Day.
Ashe.
Ashe,
Ashe.
Ashe,
Ashe.
Ashe.
Kosi sigelela, sigelela, i-Afrika.
Welcome back, brothers and sisters. And once again, my name is Asa Olasola, and I hope that you enjoyed that anthem just as much as I enjoyed it. I'm welcoming you back to CPAC's first virtual African Liberation Day celebration. Let me say that we are overjoyed to have you join us, and we want you to know that you are being joined by African people all over the world in tribute to our struggle for justice, independence, and respect. Of course, we would all be having large gatherings of our people for this celebration, but unfortunately, the coronavirus pandemic has forced us to use the social media instead. So most of our presentations today were done virally. But nothing will stop us from fighting for such a just and righteous cause. Our theme for this year's celebration is the importance for all Africans to work for Pan-Africanism. There will be presentations on Pan-Africanism throughout our celebration today. Now, there are a few of us gathered here in this room today to conduct the celebration, but we are, and hope that you are, keeping your social distance so we all can stay well enough to keep up the fight. But even with our distance, we want to give you, our audience, a chance to comment or ask questions during our presentation. We may not be able to take your comments live during our presentation, but we will post your comments on the screen as they come in, and we will respond to them at that time. But at the end of our celebration, those of us here will act as a question and answer panel at the end of our viral presentation, and we will do our best to take and respond to your comments live. All right, you ready? Let's move forward. Let me now introduce to you our other brother, our main brother, let me put it that way, our brother Babatunde Dumasi Akinwole, and who he will give you a presentation of his own.
Revolutionary greetings, brothers and sisters. I am Babatunde Akinwole. I'm an organizer for the Cincinnati Pan Afrikan Coalition. It is my pleasure to announce that we are in our 10th straight year of celebrating the African Liberation Day celebration, or ALD, right here in Cincinnati. And it's our pleasure to be able to bring it to you this year, even though we're going to have to do it digitally because the coronavirus is stopping us from calling for mass gatherings. But nothing is going to stop us from celebrating ourselves. And so African Liberation Day, the celebration goes on, and we certainly thank you for being a part of the celebration. Inside of our organization, or our coalition, CPAC, our primary objective, or our ultimate objective, is Pan-Africanism. We see Pan-Africanism as the only permanent solution for all of the oppression and exploitation that African people are being exposed to everywhere in the world. Everywhere we exist in the world, we're being exposed to the same kind of oppression and exploitation. And we know that we exist in North, South, Central America. We know that we live in all through the Caribbean, in Asia, in Europe. Of course, we're in Africa. We are everywhere, and everywhere we exist, we are experiencing oppression and exploitation. And most of it is coming from the same enemy. That enemy being white supremacy, and white supremacy's favorite weapon that it uses against us is the economic system of capitalism. And so we are going to talk about how do we end that oppression and exploitation today. And the primary and ultimate objective is Pan-Africanism. And Kwame Nkrumah told us, Kwame Nkrumah who was the first president of Ghana, after they ran the British out, he told us that Pan-Africanism is the total liberation and unification of Africa under an all-African worldwide socialist government. So during our celebration here today, we are going to break Pan-Africanism down into three basic parts. We're going to call it the question of unification, that African people must come together. We're calling it the second part will be the question of liberation, that we must rescue our homeland from the hands of our enemies, put it back under the control of African people. We know that life comes from land. Without land, there is no survival. And if you don't own or control land, you are at the mercy or non-mercy of those who do. And we know that the Creator gave us Africa as our homeland. It belongs to us. And Africa, our homeland, is the richest piece of dirt on the face of the earth. And we must reclaim our homeland. So part two is called the question of liberation. Part three will be called the question of socialism. We understand that most of the problems that are consistent for our people around the world came about because of capitalism. And white supremacy uses it to the utmost to make sure that we don't get back to where we were before they came into contact with us. Even the Holocaust of African enslavement was the results of capitalism. And so we want to make sure that because capitalism was responsible for all of those illnesses that we have, that it plays no role at all in the new African world nation that we are trying to put together. So capitalism must be banished, and we will bring in the economic system of socialism. So those three parts, the question of unification, the question of liberation, and the question of socialism, will be dealt with during today's celebration. But let me first give you a little information about our organization, the Cincinnati Pan Afrikan Coalition. Our coalition is actually a coalition, not an organization. We are an umbrella group for organizations, groups, and individuals. You can come into our organization and join, and we only have a couple of requirements. The first requirement is that you must be of African descent. You can come into our organization and work along with us and struggle to bring about Pan-Africanism. Inside of our organization, inside of our coalition, we have many organizations that come in that have different focuses. If your organization or you are interested in politics or finance or science, if you're interested in community organizing, if you're interested in agriculture, whatever you're interested in, many times what you are doing right now is done to benefit white supremacy. We have to, because that's what we work for. White supremacy owns and runs this country, and as I said, capitalism is its major weapon. So we work for white supremacy. But what we do inside of CPAC is that we make sure that we understand that all of our skills, our resources, our people power must be used to bring about Pan-Africanism, to bring about the new African world order. So the other requirement for being inside of CPAC is that you must study. You got to study. And a lot of times when people think about studying, they think about opening up a book and reading. And I have to say that there are many, many ways of getting information in today's world. Although I'm constantly accused of being old school, but I do still think that cracking open a book is one of the best ways of getting information. But there are many ways of getting information, and we try to use them all in what we call our study circles inside of CPAC. When you come into our organization, we want you to make sure that you get inside of a study circle and you begin to look at what is Pan-Africanism, what is socialism, what is community organizing, how do we bring Pan-Africanism about, what is the step-by-step process that we got to go through to make that happen. All of those things need to be studied, understood, discussed, and analyzed. And so study is crucial as we go through the development of our organization and the African nation itself. We always like to make sure that whenever we talk about our organization, excuse me, our organization, that we tell you about the current members inside of CPAC. There are 4 African organizations inside of CPAC at this moment. And as I said, our organization invites all African people, organizations or individuals to join us, or at least get in touch with us to see if we are something that you would like to be a part of. But our current member organizations are the Academy for African Community Transformation. The next one is the Cincinnati African-Centered Rites of Passage Process. Then we have the Citywide Kwanzaa Committee. And of course we have the Conscious Mind Study Group. Those 4 organizations right now make up the Cincinnati Pan Afrikan Coalition. And as I said, we're always open for others to come in and join us. All of those organizations may have a different focus, but every one of them is working now for Pan-Africanism. Even though they are autonomous in the work that they do, they still do the work that they were doing before. And coming into the coalition, they can look for other member organizations to give them support in the work that they are doing particularly. And the other groups can look for them to do the same. But all of us make a commitment to work for Pan-Africanism. So if any of you are interested in getting more information about CPAC, about our study sessions, about our meeting times, about our bylaws, about our principles, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. You can reach us. I'm going to give you a few ways. You can write us at CPAC, at CPAC, 3831 Odin Avenue, O-D-I-N, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45213. That's 3831 Odin Avenue, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45213. You can call us at area code 513-290-2696. That's 513-290-2696. Or you can email us at curt.standifer@yahoo.com. That's curt.standifer@yahoo.com. We eagerly await for your correspondence and hope that you will at least give us the opportunity to show you who we are and that what we can accomplish will benefit all of us as African people. I want to thank you in behalf of the Cincinnati Pan Afrikan Coalition for joining us here today for the African Liberation Day celebration. And hopefully in years to come, we'll be able to continue to bring about our mass gatherings so that we can enjoy the closeness of our people. But for right now, I am telling you that in every corner of the African world community, wherever we exist in the world, on every continent in the world, African Liberation Day is being celebrated. And you are joining African people everywhere in this celebration. So enjoy the day, and we will give you an opportunity to have a participating part in the program as well, as during the program we'll ask for your comments, and we'll have a roundtable discussion after the program so that we can have question and answers dealt with at the end of the program. So stick with us for all day if you can, but give us whatever time you can, and we hope that everything that we do will help to enhance the revolutionary spirit inside of you to join us in the struggle for Pan-Africanism. For the Cincinnati Pan Afrikan Coalition, I am Babatunde Akinwole saying, forward ever, backward never.
Revolutionary greetings, brothers and sisters. And we thank you, Babatunde Akinwole, for that statement from the Cincinnati Pan Afrikan Coalition. Many of us still know him as Baba Kurt, but Babatunde Akinwole is certainly the genius and the gem of our elders that we have right here among us. Now, I am Joy Roland Abba, and I am your other host for today's celebration. So right now, I'm going to tell you how African Liberation Day began and what it's all about, and that it's a celebration many of us from all over the African world come together for. So, on April 15th, 1958, in Accra, Ghana, Ghanaian President Kwame Nkrumah, Ashe, convened for the first conference of independent African states. It was attended by representatives of the then 8 independent African states and by other political activists. Now, the conference represented the collective expression of African people's disgust with the system of capitalism, imperialism, and colonialism. April 15th was then declared African Freedom Day. 5 years later, on May 25th, 1963, 31 African leaders convened another summit in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and founded the Organization of African Unity, that is the OAU. They renamed African Freedom Day to African Liberation Day and changed this date to May 25th. Unity and the call to work in the areas of political education and organization is what ALD is all about. It also points out that we have not yet achieved our freedom and that we must reaffirm our commitment to unification and liberation. During the week of May 25th, we join African people throughout the world in calling out the importance of ALD and to move toward the reestablishment of the African nation. So, we thank you all for joining us in this important and vital celebration of our people, our homeland, and the righteousness and forward progress of our struggle. Again, we thank you for joining us. If you can't stay with us the whole celebration today, please come in and out and watch us. Please share right now on your various pages and let people know that we are on and celebrating together. We thank you, and at this time we're going to go to a song by our beloved Peter Tosh, Ashe, and we'll continue moving forward in the celebration.
Come on, fly. I don't care where you come from, as long as you're a black man. You are an African. None mind your nationality, you have got the identity. You are an African. Cause if you come from Clarendon, you are an African. And if you come from Portland, and if you come from Westmoreland, you are an African. I don't care where you come from, as long as you're a black man. You are an African. Now mind your nationality, you have got the identity. You are an African. Cause if you come from Trinidad, and if you come from Nassau, say if you come from Cuba, don't care where you come from, as long as you're a black man. You are an African. Not my denomination, that is only segregation. You are an African. 'Cause if you go to the Catholic, and if you go to the Methodist, said if you go to the Church of God, I don't care where you come from, as long as you're a black man. You are an African. Now mind you complexion, there is no rejection. You are an African. 'Cause if the complexion high, high, and if the complexion low, low, and if it's in between, I don't care where you come from, as long as you're a black man. Now mind your nationality, you have got the identity. You are an African. 'Cause if you come from Brixton, yeah, you are an African. And if you come from Winston, you are an African. Say if you come from Harsden, you are an African. And if you come from Livingston, you are an African. If you come from Bronx, you are an African. Say if you come from Brooklyn, you are an African. And if you come from Queens, you are an African. Say if you come from Manhattan, you are an African. And if you come from Canada, you are an African. If you come from Miami, you are an African. If you come from Switzerland, you are an African. And if you come from Germany, you are an African. If you come from Russia, you are an African. If you come from China, you are an African. Said if you come from Taiwan, you are an African. And if you come from Taiwan, you are an African. If you come from the North Pole, you are an African. If you come from the South Pole, said if you come from I don't know where.
Revolutionary greetings again, brothers and sisters. Revolutionary greetings again, brothers and sisters. Coming up next, we have a performance by a group who calls themselves Iju Ugo or Ijo Ugo. I apologize for if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Ijo Ugo, African drummers and dancers, here at our 2020 African Liberation Day celebration. All right, brothers and sisters, hopefully you enjoyed that presentation from our African drummers and dancers. Coming up next, we have a presentation from our sister Ejide Howard, and she's going to talk to you about some of our African current events for our 2020 African Liberation Day celebration.
Habaragani. I am Sister Ejide, and I would like to share with you some African world current events. We'll begin in West and Central Africa. Back in January this year, Italian Deputy Prime Minister Luigi Di Maio infuriated France by saying France is one of those countries that by printing money for 14 African states prevents their economic development and contributes to refugees leaving these countries and dying in the sea or landing on our coast. I have stopped being a hypocrite and talking only about the effects of immigration. It's time to talk about the causes of immigration. The European Union should sanction all countries like France that are impoverishing African countries and causing their people to leave. The money the Italian minister referred to is the franc, which is notably used by former French colonies in Africa, also known as the CFA. The CFA franc was created in 1945 and is used in the economic and monetary community of Central Africa, which includes Chad, Cameroon, Central African Republic, Gabon, Equatorial Guinea, and the Republic of Congo. It's used in the West African Economic and Monetary Union, which includes Senegal, Guinea, Niger, Togo, Benin Republic, and Nigeria. The former African Union ambassador to the U.S. Africana, Shimbori Quo, has been relentlessly campaigning for the French to end the modern-day colonialism, which included requiring so-called francophone countries to use the CFA franc and deposit their reserves in Paris banks. Last November, the Economic Community of West African States proposed the new single African currency called the ECO. Benin Republic President Patrice Talon said the ECO would not be managed like France has singly managed the CFA franc. African countries will have full management of their currency. The ECO is supposed to be accepted in 2020, and President Talon also said, "I can't give you the date, but the willingness of all the countries is there." If implemented, it would mean the end of the CFA franc, the last colonial currency in the world. Hopefully this will also become the impetus for these African states to move completely to overthrow all aspects of neo-colonialism. Moving on to Mali. The French military and Malian forces killed 30 so-called extremists in the Sahel region and increased the efforts in combat of what they call jihadist groups in the area. These airstrikes involved one of France's first armed drones in the border zone where Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso meet. The military actions came after France announced plans back in February to deploy over 600 additional soldiers to its Barkhane force, raising the number of troops there to 1,500. Barkhane has been operating in the region since 2014. French President Emmanuel Macron and the neo-colonial leaders of his G5 Sahel group, consisting of Mauritania, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Chad, launched a new plan to fight so-called jihadist groups in the area. Neo-colonialism in our homeland, where outside masters control and influence inside leaders, must be completely overthrown. Pan-Africanism is the only permanent solution to this and all the other problems confronting our people. In Somalia, U.S. Africa Command finally acknowledged this month that an American military airstrike over a year ago killed 2 civilians and injured 3 others. The deaths mark only the second time Africa Command has determined that civilians were killed in a military strike in Somalia. Strikes are being waged against the Al-Shabaab, a so-called extremist group. Already there have been 39 airstrikes in 2020, compared to last year's total of 63. We would be foolish to think that only 2 were killed last year. And there's no telling how many have been killed with all the strikes occurring this year. Major General William Gaylor, Director of Operations for Africa Command, said last year's deaths and injuries were likely due to secondary explosions from munitions stored in the site of Al-Shabaab, which controlled parts of central and southern Somalia. When asked why the investigations took so long, Gaylor said it was an effort to be thorough, and some of the means to assess don't normally happen quickly. Let us always remember the Native American adage, white man speaks with forked tongue. They always lie to cover up the dirt they keep dumping on the world. We desperately need to establish Pan-Africanism to run all foreign military bases and operations from our homeland. If not, they will continue to murder us and lie about it.
Sunset lights up the sky, a magical moment of life passing by, romantic rhythms that beat through the night, Mother Nature's gift for you and I. Africa is my home. Don't you know that home is where my heart lies? Across the ocean dawns upon our land, breathing life for the creation of man, holding treasures of beauty given for all, the African dream that touches the soul.